What is poppin' YouTube? Buy low, sell high candidates for week 9 fantasy football. My first player is going to be Cooper Kupp. Now, I came in with the intention today to do my buy lows first. But the thing is, I thought Cooper Kupp was going to be a buy low for me this week, and he's actually turning into a sell high candidate for me. And this is the reason why. Matthew Stafford is day to day with his thumb. We've seen Matthew Stafford take him a little bit longer to recover on a week by week basis just due to his injury. What were the splits between Cooper Kupp when he's had Matthew Stafford versus when he hasn't had Matthew Stafford over the last 3 seasons? In split, of course, they played 29 games together, but out of split, they played 16 games together, 24 points per game versus 13.32 fantasy points per game without. That is a significant drop off. If you're one to believe that Matthew Stafford's only going to be out for 1 week, maybe this is a great buy low opportunity. But if you think Matthew Stafford, we don't know how he's going to look the rest of the season, he's already started to decrease a little bit in his efficiency over the last few weeks, then this could be your calling to go sell him. So I'm on the point where I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, if I can get relative value, if someone can view Cooper Kupp as a top 5 wide receiver rest of the season, cool, I will get out. I'll get a better asset. But if you think it's going to be fine for Cooper Kupp with Matthew Stafford coming back in maybe a week or 2 weeks, he's definitely buy low. All dependent on how you view Cooper Kupp here. If I'm looking at these metrics and I'm looking at my team and I'm trying to make a playoff push, let me go get something better than Cooper Kupp rest of the season. If I have a stacked loaded roster and I can wait on Cooper Kupp because I already waited on him for the first few weeks, then I think you're totally fine to continue waiting on Cooper Kupp because I think Cooper Kupp's definitely going to provide value in the playoffs. The question is, can you wait that long to get that value? That's why Cooper Kupp, he's kind of a buy and he's kind of a sell. My second player that you should be buying is going to be T. Higgins. T. Higgins continues to be someone that we are buying low. We know the ultimate potential that T. Higgins has on a week by week basis. This offense is continuing to look better. Joe Burrow is looking like himself again. Jamar Chase has had almost 3 weeks of very solid production. I'm excited for T. Higgins to finally get it going. Now, when we look at T. Higgins splits between when he plays with Jamar Chase versus without, we can see 11.03 fantasy points per game is what he averages with Jamar Chase. 18.77 fantasy points per game is what he averages when Jamar Chase misses. So we're not saying that Jamar Chase is going to miss any games, but I just want to see that T. Higgins has a ton of upward mobility and potential on your roster. So I'm looking to buy him low currently right now because if something were to happen to Jamar Chase, which I hope not because I have so much money resting on Jamar Chase, T. Higgins has a ton of potential with the in splits with 11.03. Yes, he's the second option on this Bengals offense, but as they continue to cook, as they get higher scoring games, I think T. Higgins continues to be a buy. If we go over to Yahoo, we can see some recent T. Higgins trades. We're talking Ramondre Stevenson, Jake Ferguson for T. Higgins. Give me T. Higgins. KJ Osborne, Taysom Hill for T. Higgins. Give me T. Higgins. Cam Akers and Josh Downs for T. Higgins. Give me T. Higgins. Those are all moves that I'm looking to make for T. Higgins. I think those are great buy low opportunities. My next guy is going to be Nico Collins. Of course, he had a down week this last week, but Nico Collins, wide receiver 1 for CJ Stroud. And when we're looking out here over the landscape of what some trades could be to go get you Nico Collins, we're talking like Nico Collins straight up for Gabe Davis. Boom. Give me Nico Collins. Nico Collins for DeAndre Hopkins. I think DeAndre Hopkins is definitely a sell candidate that we might be talking about later in this video, but Nico Collins for DeAndre Hopkins, I absolutely love that deal. So Nico Collins continues to be an underappreciated wide receiver in the fantasy football landscape. And I just think the Texans, CJ Stroud's getting better each and every week. And I know it's kind of slowed down just slightly over the last few weeks. Go get Nico Collins. You're not going to regret going to get Nico Collins, especially if he's your wide receiver 3, even potentially your wide receiver 2. Our next player is Drizzy Drake London. And Drizzy Drake London had been on an absolute tear of fantasy football. When we say tear, not like a Justin Jefferson type tear, but my man was putting up a solid 10 to 14 fantasy points per game and then had a pretty down week this last week, only scoring 10.5 fantasy points this week. And so you're saying to me, Caleb, why do you think Drake London's going to be a buy low? Because his target share continues to be incredible on a week by week basis. And when we're looking at the splits between Drake London, I did splits between Desmond Ridder versus every other quarterback. And the thing is, with Desmond Ridder, Drake London's been averaging 12.85 fantasy points per game. But in the out of split, he was only averaging 9.72 fantasy points per game. So you're saying to me, Caleb, are you saying that Desmond Ridder was worth it for Drake London? And I'm going to say no. I think Heineke is probably the best quarterback that Drizzy Drake London has played with up to this point. I mean, Marcus Mariota, very mobile, couldn't throw the ball. Desmond Ridder, rookie, and then this year, first year starter, seems to fumble, mobile, but can't seem to throw the ball that well either. Taylor Heineke, we saw him put up solid fantasy football production for Terry McLaurin last season for the Commanders. So I think Drake London this year, even though the splits are not saying that it is a high-end potential for him to have better days ahead, I think the splits are not counting into effect Taylor Heineke versus Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder. And I think once we put those into consideration, Drake London instantly becomes a must-buy player. So you might say, what are some deals that are getting done for Drizzy Drake London? Here are some deals. We got Drake London for Deontay Foreman. Give me Drake London. Drake London and TJ Hawkinson for Cooper Kupp, especially after the injury. I'm probably leaning Cooper Kupp there. But then the final deal, Drake London for Evan Ingram. Give me Drake London, especially if you don't need a tight end and somehow you have solid depth. Maybe you have Evan Ingram, Sam Laporta. I absolutely would love Drake London there with the high-end potential. Now let's move on on to some sell candidates. We're going to move first guy to DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins gets off a massive day in week 8 fantasy football where he was the wide receiver too. 34.8 fantasy points in PPR, of course, catching the 3 touchdowns from our man, Will Levis. The thing that scares me about DeAndre Hopkins up to this point is the fact that DeAndre Hopkins, okay, granted, he caught 4 catches, 3 of his catches for touchdowns, 3 out of his 4 catches for touchdowns. But the thing is, he only got 5 targets. So 5 targets he turned into this massive day. Now that's high in potential, but it also really means that DeAndre Hopkins, you really need to evaluate him and say to yourselves, is he going to be able to put up this efficiency? Is he able to put up those metrics on a week in and week out basis? And the answer to me is probably going to be no. If I can sell high on DeAndre Hopkins, that is something that I'm looking to do. If we're looking at deals that have done recently, we got DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce for Mark Andrews and Jamar Chase. I love the idea of this, but whoever got the Mark Andrews, Jamar Chase side absolutely swung for the fences. DeAndre Hopkins and Aaron Jones for Isaiah Pacheco, probably fair value. I probably want the package, even though I think DeAndre Hopkins is a sell high. My next deal that I think is interesting is DeAndre Hopkins and Joe Mixon for Bijan and Terry McLaurin. Give me Bijan and Terry McLaurin there. I think these are just giving you some ideas of how you can use this big week from DeAndre Hopkins to either leverage another position, get a better running back, and or just get a better wide receiver. So DeAndre Hopkins is definitely a sell for me. My next guy that you should be selling is Gus Edwards. The thing with Gus Edwards finishing as the RB3 this week, I think it's just time to sell high. We talked about how there's not really a whole lot of other competition for Gus Edwards. I mean, Justice Hill is in the backfield, but Gus Edwards continues to be the main primary guy. But when I'm saying trade high, I think this is where you can really start to look at Gus Edwards and say, what can I go get out for him on the open market? Gus Edwards for Zay Flowers and Amari DeMarcado. Give me the package. Gus Edwards for Kareem Hunt. Gus Edwards and Tyler Lockett for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Gus Edwards for Nico Collins. Gus Edwards and Jamar Chase for CeeDee Lamb, Bijan Robinson. I mean, all these deals where Gus Edwards is getting thrown in, I don't view Gus Edwards as a top 10, top 12, top 15, even top 18 back rest of the season. And maybe that's wrong on me, and I might be wrong in my analysis, but go see what you can do to go flip Gus Edwards off our team. And our last and final guy is going to be Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis finishes as a top 10 wide receiver this last week with 23 fantasy points. And like we said, who's the wide receiver 2 in this offense? I mean, Khalil Shakir looked good. Dalton Kincaid looks like the second option opposite to Stephon Diggs that the Bills have been waiting for and looking for the last few seasons. So Gabe Davis, yes, he's going to have these boom weeks. We knew that with Gabe Davis, but a lot of people get all excited when Gabe Davis boomed. I got the wide receiver 2 that's absolutely amazing on the Bills, but I don't view Gabe Davis that way. I mean, there's some deals that have gone down even today that are like better. Gabe Davis for Amari Cooper, Jake Ferguson. Give me Amari Cooper, Jake Ferguson. Gabe Davis and Adam Thielen for Chris Olave, Bijan Robinson. Give me the other package. Gabe Davis for Nico Collins. I mean, the hate for Nico Collins is absolutely outrageous. Gabe Davis for Evan Ingram. If you need a tight end upgrade, go give me Evan Ingram. I think those are all moves that I'm willing to do with Gabe Davis to help really solidify my team. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.